will now come to order. As soon as we have a quorum, we'll announce a quorum. First announcement is that we will be continuing item number 6. It's on the agenda today, but we will continue it to March 21st. Thank you for being here, Councilmember Reyes. Next, we will go to item numbers 1 and 3. If you please read them into the record.
Michael Keck, Sailor's Office. Item number 1, CDD report. Item number 1 and item number 3, CDD report relative to identifying the total amount of money dedicated to the Summer Youth Program pursuant to adoption of the Mayor's 2011-2012 budget on May 18, 2011. Item number 3, CDD report relative to eliminating all general fund support to CDD pursuant to the same Mayor's adoption of the budget of 2011-2012 on May 18, 2011.
Okay. First, we'll go to public comment on items 1 and 3, as they've just been read into the record. Is there anybody here to make a public comment on items 1 and 3? I do not see any public comment cards before me, and it appears we have not received any. Okay. Seeing no one come forward on public comment on items 1 and 3 are now closed. Any questions from the committee members? Okay. Seeing no questions from the committee members, at this time the recommendation is to note and file the CDD report, and we'll go now to item 2.
Item number 2, HACLA report relative to the Jordan Downs Development Project located at 9800 Grape Street, Los Angeles, California, 90002.
Okay. We're on item number 2. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 2? No one appears to have filled out a public comment card on item number 2. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 2? Okay. Seeing no one come forward, item number 2, public comment, is now closed. Any questions from the committee? Okay. No questions from the committee members. Therefore, we'll recommend that we note and file the HACLA report. And then when we have a quorum, we will revisit all the items that we...
Oh, pardon me, Mr. Chair. For the record, we would also note and file the budget motion as well.
Okay, thank you. The HACLA report and the budget motion. Okay. Now we move to item number 4.
Item number 4, CDD report relative to ensuring that any reductions to funding shall result in a balance between program costs and personnel costs pursuant to adoption of the Mayor's 2011-2012 budget on May 18, 2011.
Okay, thank you. We're on item number 4. Is there anybody here for public comment on item number 4? I do not see any public comment cards before me. See no one come forward for public comment on item number 4. Public comment on item number 4 is now closed. With that, any questions from the committee? Okay. The committee will note and file the CDD report as it is for informational purposes only. Next, we go to item number 5.
Item number 5, LEHD and CAO report relative to request for authority to take various actions within the lead grant fund for the continued operation of the lead hazard reduction demonstration grant and lead hazard control grant through fiscal year 2011-2012.
Okay. We're on item number 5. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 5? I do not see any public comment cards before me on item number 5. Okay. Seeing no one come forward, public comment on item number 5 is now closed. Any questions from the committee? Okay. With that, we'll move to approve the CAO's recommendations, and we'll revisit when we have a quorum. Next, we will go to item number 7.
Item number 7, LEHD and CAO reports relative to approval to issue letters of commitment for round 1 of the 2012 Affordable Housing Trust Fund and other actions related to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay. All right. So we'll next go to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment on item number 7? I do not have any public comment cards before me on item number 7. Okay, seeing no one come forward, public comment on item number 7 is now closed. Would you like the Housing Department to report? Do you have any questions for them? I don't. Okay. All right. Seeing no questions from the committee members, with that, we will approve the LAHD's request and ask the CAO to provide its report to meet up with the NOFA, as we will place it on the agenda for City Council on March 20th. And the department does have a deadline, so it is important that we see the CAO report by the time it comes to the City Council floor, so that we can consider it on the whole council, because the NOFA does have a deadline. Okay? Is there anything that the Housing Department would like to add? Okay. With that, and we have a quorum, we will finalize that action of the committee. Next, we go to item 8 on the agenda. Raise your hand if you're here for item 8. That's what I thought. If you didn't raise your hand, you're in the wrong room, because you were not here for any of the other items. Okay. We now move to item 8. Please read it into the record.
Sure, for the grand finale. Communication from the mayor and CAO and CLA report relative to the budget for the 38th Program Year Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan, Cdbg, Home Investment Partnership Program, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and Emergency Solutions Grant for the 2012-13 Fifth Year Action Plan.
Okay. Thank you. Could we have the departments come forward for this report? CAO, CLA? Good morning. We now have a quorum. We've now been joined by Councilmember Perry and Councilmember Alarcon. We now have 4 of the 5 members present.
I also forgot to note that this item is scheduled for council, March 7th, 2012.
So this item is scheduled for council later on today. I'll remind everybody in the room that this Friday, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday, we do not have council because of the National League of Cities. So in order for us to handle this in a timely manner, we are going to hear this on the council floor later on today. Okay? With that, members, we are on item number 8, the con plan. Please proceed.
Good morning, Andrea Galvin, CLA. This year's consolidated plan budget is approximately $125 million spread amongst 4 federal grants: the Home Investment Partnerships Program, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG. Allocation for this year's Home Investment Partnerships Program is $29 million, which is reduced by approximately $15.8 million from last year's allocation. Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS allocation for this program year is $15.3 million, which represents an increase in funding of approximately $2.7 million. Emergency Solutions Grant, also known as ESG, allocation for this year is $5.6 million. Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, allocation for this year is approximately $75.2 million. This represents a decrease of approximately $17.6 million from the prior year's CDBG. Our offices have the proposed amount our offices are proposing has changed from the mayor's estimated proposal due to the announcement of final entitlement amounts and changes to recommended programming and program income amounts. Although there are entitlement reductions to CDBG, we were able to identify additional program income and savings from previous years, which allowed us to fund some new projects. Under economic development, new projects include the Pacoima Neighborhood City Hall retail space, Avalon Park Plaza industrial improvements, Thai-Town Marketplace, and Homeboy Industries Main Street parking lot. Under neighborhood improvements, new projects include Calhoun Avenue sidewalk improvements, the Central Avenue Farmers Market, the Lincoln Heights Jail capital improvements, Vermont Square Historical Preservation Zone, and the Watts Towers Cultural Crescent parking lot. At this time, Trina Unziker from the Office of the CAO will continue with information relative to public services and administration.
Good morning, Trina Zucker with the Office of the CAO. Let me start with the good news in the public services and the administrative capped items. We were able, as Andrea mentioned, to find some additional program income and some additional projects that could be reprogrammed, and we were able to restore to program year 37 levels certain capped line items under public services and administrative services. Those include the Aging Department Administration, AIDS Policy Development Administration, City Attorney Program Administration, Aging Service Delivery System, AIDS Prevention Department on Disability Computerized Information Center, Fresh Food Access Program, and Grid Summer Night Lights. And we were also able to make partial restorations to domestic violence shelter operations and family source centers, the city-managed ones. The bad news in these categories is that HUD regulations restrict how much money can be spent. For example, in public services, we can spend no more than 15% of Cdbg resources on these activities within the program year. And the dollar value of the public services cap is 18% less than what we had to spend last year. So we've noted some impacts that departments have reported in the discussion in our report under the public services section. It's the same situation with the administrative services category. According to Cdbg regulations, the city can expend no more than 20%, or in this case, $13.3 million on administrative and planning activities. And just as the public services cap is significantly impacted by the reduction in entitlement funding, the administrative and planning cap is vulnerable to those same kinds of fluctuations. So the amount available for these activities represents a decrease of approximately $3.7 million from the previous con plan, and the overall reduction to the administrative cap is 22%. In both cases, the capped categories are fully allocated in order to maximize reimbursements for city staff administrative and planning activities and their associated related costs. We've taken every dollar that's available to us for those categories and we've spent it. We've detailed some of the impacts relative to the administrative cap and the impacts of the reductions under the administrative section. All of these changes are going to create a fiscal impact to the city. There's an additional potential impact on the general fund from the Cdbg budget of approximately $1.6 million, and that's as a result of reduced general fund receipts. The difference from the previous year, which was 8.7, current year is 7.1, so that's how you get to the $1.6 million in additional impact. That does not include the continuing impact of about $2.5 million. The general fund routinely contributes to covering related costs, particularly for smaller departments who are using all of that funding on direct salaries. And so in some situations, even if we were able to identify additional funds, we're unable because of the cap restrictions to restore in public services and administrative services. I think that gives you a summary of the plan, and so we'd be happy to take any questions that you have at this time.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the staff from the committee? And then we also have about 15 to 20 public comment cards that we'll go through after the questions. I'll start on my left. Councilmember Alarcon? Any questions? Okay. And after the public comment, we can also ask questions as well. Ms. Reyes? Ms. Perry?
I have some comments. Should I wait or?
Yeah, let's go through public comment.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, when I chair a committee, any member has the opportunity to either make comments or make motions or whatever at any time during the committee. So it's not just at the beginning.
Do you want me to? Well, I'll just do it now, but if that's okay, because it won't take that long.
Okay.
On this item, I wanted to make a motion to reprogram the $300,000 from CalCo, that's C-A-L-K-O, Steel, to 6800 South Avalon Boulevard. And Mr. Chair, I don't know whether I need a second. Do I need a second on that?
Yeah, you would need a second.
All right, Mr. Reyes said he would second it.
Okay, seconded by Reyes.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Now, CalCo Steel was a project in Council District 9 that received $300,000 in community development block grant funds last year. The funds were reprogrammed to a project somewhere else in the city, and I wanted to make sure these funds stayed in CD9 and are allocated to 6800 South Avalon. The Avalon project is now ready to move forward and cannot move forward unless they have these funds. Now, I realize the CRA program income funds derived from the Cal Plaza leases in Council District 9 had been identified as income in the consolidated plan to offset the public service cap. However, those funds have not been allocated to projects yet. So my motion is that when the CLA and the CAO report back to us with the mid-year programming, or sooner if possible, that the following projects be identified as priority projects to receive funds from the revenue derived from the Cal Plaza leases. Those include the Estelle Van Meter Center, 6800 South Avalon to 6800 South Avalon, and a dedicated source of funds for the city's new economic development entity. And I want to thank the hard work the CLA and the CAO have done in this effort, and I realize it's a very difficult year, as always, with extremely limited resources, but I would appreciate that. And thank you for the second, Mr. Reyes.
Okay. For clarification, Ms. Perry, your motion is for the CLA and the CAO to prioritize those projects in the reallocation?
Yeah, and then also the motion includes reprogramming the $300,000 from Calco Steel at 6800 South Avalon back to Calco Steel, CALCO Steel. So it's a two-parter.
So one part has to do with the future reprogramming, and one part has to do with $300,000 in the actual comp plan as it stands today.
Correct, because the fund, what I'm attempting to do is to move this project at 6800 South Avalon forward. It's now ready to move forward, but it can't move forward without these funds that were reprogrammed elsewhere in the city, and those funds were derived from the Cal Plaza leases, and those were identified as income from the con plan to offset the public service cap, although these funds have not been allocated to date to certain projects, so it's a two-parter.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes?
Yeah, just for the sake of clarity, my understanding is that the motion allows movement from one funding source affecting District 9 to allow you the discretion to move it to another project that you would like to see prioritized.
The project's ready to go. 6800
Right.
is ready to go now.
Right. Does that in any way affect other program funds that are also being identified by the source within the process? That's the question that I would have.
Well, since the funds are derived from the Cal Plaza leases, and those had not even been allocated yet, or identified as going to enter any particular project yet, then it's not affecting any other project because it had not been allocated yet.
Identified.
Identified.
Similar question to the CLA. That $300,000 for that project, how does that fit in the plan, or would that keep the plan balanced, or how, as the motion is stated, would it put the current plan out of balance?
It will put the current plan out of balance. Calco Steel, that money was reprogrammed in the mayor's proposed budget, so it was taken away and put back into other projects. So it would put the plan out of balance.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We will go to public comment, and then we'll handle all of the motions after public comment and the rest of the comment from the members. Yes.
Could I just ask a question?
Sure.
With regard to the numerous HIV and AIDS programs, there's nothing in here for the 7th Council District, and I was curious, is that because we have no HIV in the 7th Council District, or what? And a particular note is the African American men who have sex with men program.
You mean in the meantime?
Pardon me?
You mean in the meantime?
In the meantime, what?
Which program?
It's AAMSM program.
Is the question whether that will be
I mean,
funded?
we have a significant African American population in my district, and I'm just curious why we weren't included in that program.
My understanding is that that particular line item applies to council districts 2, 4, and 6. We have, actually, we have...
Actually, it's 4, 9, 13, and 14, but I'm just asking a general question. These are all related to HIV/AIDS, and the 7th council district doesn't have anything, and there's like 20 programs here.
Well, we could have a representative, if there's one available, from Department on Disability, because Department on Disability specifically prepared all of these. These are the contracts that they use to be able to provide the services.
Is there somebody from that department here? Can you explain to me why the 7th district doesn't get any of these services?
I'm sorry. This reflects this. This is the contracts that correspond with the DOD funds. The specific one that's mentioned is this one here.
Ricky Rosales from the Department of Disability in the AIDS office. There's obviously a typo in here. All of our contracts, when we allocate the funding for them, we ensure that every council district is covered. I'd have to go back and actually check and see where the omission was, but there should be coverage in Council District 7.
So how do we get clarity on that? I mean, we're supposed to vote on this, and you're telling me something is different than what we're going to vote on. So how do I know what to do?
I can get you the information in 20 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
20 minutes of public comment?
Yeah, at least. Okay. We have about 20 public comment cards, and we do have council at 10 o'clock. So at this time, we'll announce that the public comment will be limited to 1 minute per card. So with that, we will call up, we'll give up the mics. We'll call up the public comment cards, and if you'll come up as I call your name. Larry Curvin, Estela Lopez, Michael Swartz, Mariana Gerzovich, I'm sorry if I messed that up, and Ronald Troop. Please come forward. Should be, oh, there's 4, I'm sorry, 4 at a time. I thought there were 5. Okay. Ronald will be the next person to come up after this. We'll start to my right. Your name, please, for the record.
Good morning. My name is Larry Curvin. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm the CFO, COO of Homeboy Industries. Along with me today is my colleague Hector Verdugo, the Associate Executive Director. We're here to represent Father Greg Boyle, Homeboy Industries, and the thousands of formerly gang-involved youth who seek our services every year. Homeboy has the opportunity to purchase the Main Street parking lot adjacent to our property. We've been using this land for approximately 5 years for our staff parking and our Homeboy vehicles, along with our overflow office space, clothing closet, and Homegirl Cafe. We have the opportunity to purchase the property for $777,000, and we estimate the landscaping at $200,000 additionally. We hope the City of Los Angeles will assist us in the purchasing of this parking lot. Thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
For point of clarification, please, your services, that facility is in CD1, right? But you serve the entire City of Los Angeles?
Yes.
Or only portions of it?
We actually serve pretty much all the city and adjacent county properties.
Oh, okay. So you're not limited to just the east side of Los Angeles?
No.
You have constituents coming from all over the city and beyond?
All over the city and beyond, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, please.
Good morning, members. Estela Lopez, Executive Director, Arts District, Business Improvement District in downtown Los Angeles. In the last quarter century, industry and manufacturing has fled downtown. Right now, you have the opportunity to reverse that course and incentivize a new industry cluster by supporting the Cleantech Incubator in Los Angeles. Cleantech entrepreneurs want LA, but if we don't find them a home, they will go elsewhere. Other cities, such as San Diego, are luring these clean tech entrepreneurs to prepare for the clean technology economy. The clean tech industry is engaged with us with the promise of a permanent incubator. This is an industry poised to break through to the next level, and it will bring companies and jobs to Los Angeles. I'm here because we're proud to be the host community for this permanent incubator. Downtown is the place, and now is the time to cultivate this new economy in Los Angeles. Please support the Clean Tech Incubator.
Thank you, and you can tell Fred Walty, I ran into him in D.C. last night. You can tell him that the good news that we are supporting it so far, so very
Thank
good.
you for giving me that pleasure. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and other members of the committee. My name is Michael Swords, and I am the Executive Director of Strategic Research Initiatives and Global Partnerships at UCLA. I also serve as the Chairman of the Board for Cleantech Los Angeles. Cleantech Los Angeles is a public-private partnership focused on making Los Angeles into one of the premier clean tech centers in the world. UCLA and other research universities, partners of Cleantech LA, believe strongly that great universities have the responsibility to address important problems, and we have the means to deliver these solutions to society. UCLA is the largest research budget of any U.S. university at nearly $1.2 billion per year. In the last 7 years, we've created over 100 startups, and 19 startups were created last year alone. This resulted in $21 million in additional revenue for the city of Los Angeles and for UCLA. Sorry. We hope that you will support the proposed additional Cdbg funding and help make the permanent LACI into a reality.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mariana Gerzanic. I'm a co-founder and CEO of 350 Green. We were the first portfolio company of LACI, and we install and operate charging stations for electric cars. We started out 4 months ago with 2 people, and now we are 12 at LACI, and in the next 6 months we will be opening our call and support center that will support our nationwide, our United States charging stations nationwide. Wow. And this will bring additional 50 jobs. We have now outgrown the temporary facilities, and we don't want to leave because there is a lot of value that LACI brings to us. We are now the largest infrastructure provider, and we are a very visible project for LA, and we are bringing a lot of spotlights and a lot of jobs to the region. Wow. We definitely want to stay. We moved from San Diego to join this incubator, and we definitely want to stay.
If you don't mind me asking, the kinds of jobs that you have there, they vary from high technical skill to beginning entry-level jobs?
Call support center, call operators, engineers, they are green tech jobs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I recommend you get her card from Homeboy. Well, looks like good job placement opportunity. Yes, Mr. Reyes.
And gas is at $4.50 right now, right?
I know.
Okay.
It's good news for me.
Although you don't wish it on anybody, it's just circumstances.
Makes me laugh and cry.
There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next is Ronald Troop, Toby Quintiliani, sounds Italian, I guess, Debbie Nelson, and Mariah Bauer.
Good morning,
Ronald,
Chairman.
Toby, Debbie, and Mariah. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and fellow committee members. My name is Ron Troop, Board Chair of 1736 Family Crisis Center. And to speed this along, I'd like to introduce our 2 senior directors, Toby Quintiliani and Debbie Nelson.
Hi, I'm Toby Quintiliani from 1736 Family Crisis Center, Senior Director. We want to say that we are in support of all our colleagues here that will come and talk to you about not decreasing the DVSO funding for critical domestic violence services. 1736 Family Crisis Center has been in operation for 17 years and has used the DVSO funding to save lives. We've provided safe shelter, food, counseling, prevented homelessness, and prevented homicides in the city of LA. There are no other funding sources that could save our 2 independent shelters that are run by these funds. I want to draw your attention to many recent deaths in the city and in the county of LA that are from domestic violence.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Nelson. I'm also a senior director at 1736. I'm here to represent our second of two domestic violence shelters currently funded by the city's DVSO program. I'm also in agreement with Toby and all of our peers that are represented here today that any monetary reduction to our critical life-saving services, shelter services, would leave victims and their children vulnerable to the worst possible victimization and crimes. Any cut to this funding would be detrimental to our two shelters and to the domestic violence programs of many others here today who also provide the most comprehensive life-saving services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mariah Bauer. Honorable committee members, thank you for hearing our concerns. We are here on behalf of Prototype Star House, which is a safe and confidential shelter in the greater Los Angeles area. As you can see from the policy brief, these budget cuts severely minimize the availability of funds and our ability to provide services to women and children. Over the 2010-2011 fiscal year, we were able to serve more than 90 adults and children. A 15% cut in funding is just a number on paper. However, it is the faces of DV survivors who are in need of our help. This 15% is the difference between life and death for DV victims and their children.
Thank you. We've distributed to the members a motion that will be introduced by myself in a few minutes that restores $50,000 to the Family Crisis Center. And that's part of the motion that I'll be introducing in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ben Shermer, Marlon Portillo, or Miriam Portillo, Chauncey Martorell, and Pedro Joel Espinosa. Okay, you may begin.
Yes, good morning. My name is Ben Shermer. I'm Executive Director for Rainbow Services. We are a domestic violence shelter-based agency. I know this is not an easy decision for you. I just want to thank you for all your support. A lot of people don't realize that a woman's murdered every 12 days in L.A. By her husband or boyfriend. And for many women, the only thing that stands between them and either a life or the streets or homicide is an emergency shelter bed. The proposed cuts would reduce about 4,000 nights of emergency shelter bed. So we appreciate anything that you can do to help keep that from happening. I'm going to keep it short, though, so thank you very much for all your support.
Thank you. Go ahead. Your name for the record.
My name is Marlon Portillo. I'm the Executive Director of Idapska. And I want to thank you for all your support at the delivery program. And I'm talking about item number 45. And I want to state that I oppose the budget cut, and let me tell you why. 50% is too much. We already took a hit of 70% cuts. We managed to survive and readapt, which wasn't easy. Our investment is in human beings. And if we get another budget cut, we're going to lose 16,000 jobs. We are going to lose the ability to recover $60,000 and unpaid wages for the workers, women and men. So we will be forced to readapt again if we want to lose 26 essential services such as ESL, computer literacy, physical and mental health services, and many more. So we have a very committed staff, and I think that the budget shouldn't happen.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Pedro Joel, and I'm also here speaking on behalf of item number 45. I am the Mobile Voices Coordinator of Idapska, a project of Idapska. Mobile Voices, for those that don't know, is a digital storytelling platform where the day labor community can use cell phones to counteract negative stories and create a more positive narrative about the day labor community. When there's a positive narrative about the day labor community, there's going to be more jobs and more contributions to a more positive community, a local community as well. And on behalf of the day laborers that I work with, I oppose any reductions, the 15%, on item number 45.
Thank you.
Oh, my project manager also submitted a card if he could go right after me as well. Alex Hosheimer. if you find it.
Oh, he is right after.
Okay, thank you. So let me start. Hi, Mike, can we start over? 1 minute?
Start your time over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Chancey Martorell, Executive Director of the Thai Community Development Center, and we have our project, Thai Town Marketplace, slated for funding with Cdbg funds as an economic development project. This is a project we've been working on for over 6 years now. It serves as a business incubator in East Hollywood that will grow the local economy, create over 38 jobs, and create 19 small business opportunities for low-income entrepreneurs in the area, and will also promote not just immigrant integration and social integration of all the multi-ethnic communities in the area, but promote entrepreneurship, immigrant entrepreneurship. And so we really hope that you'll give us your full support of this project. We could really use something like this in the East Hollywood area to revitalize East Hollywood. It is an economic development tool. We've gotten support from the federal government and various other private funders as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Alex Holsheimer, Mariela Saba, Mario CNZ, it looks like, Jose de la Torre. Please begin.
Sure. Good morning, Honorable Committee. My name is Alex Holzheimer. I'm Project Manager with the Thai Community Development Center. I'm here to urge the committee to support the Consolidated Plan as also the gap funding for the Thai Town Marketplace. Under the summary of public comments, point 4 clearly shows that the public supports business incubators that provides jobs and economic development during these hard times, and the Marketplace is just that project. In addition, both the CLA and CAO reports recommend full funding. Since 2006, we've been planning for this business incubator project that will actually create 54 jobs in the first year if you consider both construction and permanent, as well as 19 retail, food, and artisan small businesses and first-time entrepreneurs. We will provide low-cost business services for first-time entrepreneurs until they're successful and to go into commercial spaces. So basically, over the year, we will be supporting more and more businesses over the years that will create more and more jobs. So this definitely has a long-term effect that will also help the local economy. So with the elimination of CRA, we're finding this gap funding. So thank you so much. I also want to submit some letters of support.
Please give them to the sergeant. Sure. Thank you.
And then also a fact sheet.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariela Saba. I am the coordinator of the Aprendamos program. It's part of Idapska as well. And I have the privilege to work with day laborers and household workers alike. I am here to express my deepest concerns regarding the mayor's recommendation for yet another cut to our day labor program of 15%. This is in addition to a 17% cut that we barely survived last year. Our program provides the greater LA community with 5 job centers where day laborers, household workers, and now even unemployed teachers and young professionals are soliciting work in a safe and more humane manner rather than finding themselves in the streets soliciting work. Our job centers not only function as job resource and employment sites, but also function as educational centers where participating day laborers and household workers receive health, nutrition, safety, English, and a multitude of other classes that support the progress and well-being of thousands of day laborers throughout Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you. Mario?
José.
José.
My name is José de la Torre. Yo quiero, por favor, pedirle el soporte, la ayuda al mayor Villaraigosa. Necesitamos, por favor, que se mantengan esos centros abiertos porque nos ayuda mucho. Yo soy day labor skill. Soy un skill trabajador ahí y necesito el apoyo, por favor, que no corten más fondos a nuestros centros porque eso ayuda mucho a nosotros, nos mantiene ocupados y ayuda mucho a bajar la criminalidad, el crimen. Andar todos, somos como 300 que vamos a andar en la calle sin nada, nomás vagando. Entonces, por favor, ayúdenos, no nos corten los fondos. Yo tengo familia, tengo mucha familia y necesito el trabajo, necesito trabajar. Ahí nos ayudan mucho a aprender, a agarrar nuestro GED, clases de inglés, soy jardinero, también allí tomé las clases. Eso ayuda mucho. Gracias.
Thank you. Would you like to interpret any of what he said? You don't have to. We're not allowed to, as members, some of us do speak some Spanish, but we're not allowed to, as members of the council, to interpret for somebody who's presenting.
Yes, definitely. I'm sure he spoke personally as a day laborer himself who benefits from one of our job centers, spoke as a skilled worker. He's also a gardener. He's benefited from the GED program and the other services, educational services on site, and expresses the need to, the dire need to not cut the program and how it affects himself and his family and the community that he belongs to, and otherwise a lot of folks would be in the streets vagando or just in the streets, as he explained. So,
Thank you, gracias. We have Mario or Mano, CNZ, it's the second time I call that name, from the Idapska's Day Labor Program. I might be saying it completely wrong. Okay, come on up. We have Ricardo Rodriguez, Raimundo Sanchez, and Ángela Álvarez. Por favor, you can start. Your name, su nombre.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Mario Cruz y yo vengo por parte de Idapska porque quieren recortar fondos también. Y yo ahí he agarrado muchos trabajos, gracias a Dios, y de mí depende mi familia y de ahí saco para medio comer. Y dan muchas clases ahí, mucha educación, a todo mundo le abren las puertas. Y me va muy bien, gracias a Dios, y quisiera que no recortaran esos fondos.
Gracias.
In summary, he says thanks to God that in the job centers he's been able to receive a lot of jobs. That's his site for his jobs, and again expresses that please do not make this cut.
Okay, thank you.
Sí.
I'm sorry. Aquí, here, yes, go ahead.
Mi nombre es Raimundo Sánchez. Hace 3 años yo llegué a esos centros de Idapska. Estando en la calle, he aprendido muchas habilidades en esos centros de rehabilitación. Nos han dado una habilidad de arreglar bicicletas, estudios de salud, y hemos aprendido bastantes cosas que nos ha servido para poderlo enseñar a la comunidad, enseñar a la familia. Y uno de los puntos importantes es que no recorten estos centros, porque nos han ayudado tanto que muchos trabajadores de la calle han salido, que la criminalidad los ha tenido metidos en ese mundo de drogas y de alcohol, y han salido muchos. Y ahora yo lo que les pido es que nos ayuden, que ese recorte no sea tan fuerte, sino que esos centros permanezcan. Eso es todo lo que les puedo decir. Gracias.
His name is Raimundo, and he said 3 years ago he began attending the job centers. Prior to that, he was in the streets. He has learned a lot at these centers, a lot of skills, including how to fix bikes and health studies. He also learned a lot of things that he has taught to his family in return and his community. He says don't cut these centers, ensures that people have been able to rehabilitate in these centers from drugs and alcohol use as well. So please do not cut the centers.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Angela Alvarez. I'm here to speak against the budget cuts to the day laborer program. I'm the manager of the Workers' Health Program at Idapska. And this cut will be an additional cut that you made last year. This is 50% proposed this year, and last year was 17%. That is a huge cut in our program, and as a manager of the health program, I have seen and I have worked with the laborers every day, and also with household workers, and I know they are in need too much of these job centers, because these job centers offer a way to find a jobs with dignity, and also to recover any salaries that they have not been paid, and this will be really dramatically recorded, and it will be affect the way we work at the job centers.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Sí, buenos días. Soy jornalero mi nombre es Ricardo Rodriguez, soy jornalero de los centros
de Downtown de Idapska. Estamos participando en los eventos del gobierno. Estuvimos en la moción del agua. Creamos una cooperativa de Native Green Garden donde nos apoyó el Instituto de Educación Popular y el Sistema de Gobierno de Los Ángeles, California. Acabamos de participar en la extensión territorial que elaboró el gobierno y fuimos partícipes y estamos queriendo integrarnos al sistema social como personas trabajadoras, con familias, con necesidades y que también hacemos contribución tributaria como personas físicas. Creemos que los centros de trabajo deben de estar abiertos porque en esta ocasión que existe esta recesión en el país, hemos sido los más golpeados. Y esperamos que nos apoyen.
Gracias.
His name is Ricardo Rodriguez. He identifies himself as a day laborer who works at the downtown job center. That is where he solicits work. And within the job center, he was also part of the Native Green Gardeners. That is a cooperative that was created with the support of city government as well. He expresses that we are people who are trying to integrate ourselves into society as workers, as family members. He urges us to have the job centers remain open, and finally made a comment about during this economic recession, day laborers are the people who have received the hardest hit.
Okay, thank you. Our last speaker is Flor Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Flor Rodriguez and I am the program manager of the day labor program. And a lot of the folks that you saw here today are workers and household workers that are there in our program every day. We have been collaborating with a lot of the other day labor centers to try and share our resources. But even then, like many of them share the budget cuts that we received last year and the projection of the budget cuts that will be coming again this year are just something we can have in our communities. The day labor program is there to try and bring more jobs, and just making those cuts, it's making the community be able to obtain less jobs. So definitely we want to urge you guys to support on the day labor centers, and specifically the day labor centers, household workers, because as you've seen today, it's not just providing jobs, but also a lot of the other classes that they have, such as ESL and computer literacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. That concludes the public comment, public speakers on item number 8. With that, we will close public comment on item number 8.
Councilmember, I have a minor housekeeping issue. There are a couple of attachments that needed to be amended. A happy consequence, I suppose, of the restoration of funding to departments and agencies is that we needed to change the numbers in the contracts. So that impacts the amount of money that they have to spend on contracts, and it actually raises that amount. So we asked departments to give us their revised attachments that show the increase to the contractors, and so we have amended attachments M and R for your consideration. They've been distributed and provided to the clerk.
Okay. So when we take it up for a vote, it will include amendments M and R. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Councilmember Reyes?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something briefly in Spanish to the day laborers and the folks that came forward, and I'll say it in English. Para las personas que llegaron de parte de los unaderos, más quiero decirles que cada ciudad en esta nación recibieron menos fondos del gobierno federal. Y desde ahí llegó recortes a todas las agencias, incluyendo las agencias de servicios de cada área donde hemos tenido fondos antes, ahora ya no existen. Desafortunadamente, cada grupo ahora están recibiendo estos cortes. Entonces no es porque queremos hacer los cortes o no queremos apoyar. La realidad es que nos han puesto en esta posición, tenemos que hacer decisiones muy difíciles, y también al resto que llegan aquí, yo sé que es difícil llegar a este edificio para estar aquí en la mañana con nosotros, pero al mismo tiempo tenemos que reconocer la lucha que tenemos enfrente de nosotros. I just want to say, just in general, throughout this country, block grants were cut severely in every major city, in every town in this country, there was a severe cutback in community development block grants. As a result, the domino effect has been that every agency, every organization throughout this country is going through this very difficult phase of cutbacks, and it reaches us at home at every service level that we are now engaging. So I just want to share that from the big picture point of view in case folks aren't aware of these kinds of issues. I just want to put that on the table. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Reyes.
I just wanted to clarify for the record, the motions that I made earlier, those were two separate motions. Okay, so just so you're clear.
Okay, so in two separate motions, and then before we go to a vote, we'll clarify what they are immediately before the vote. Thank you.
Great.
Anything else?
Yeah, I also wanted to follow up on attachment R. Did we get a clarification from the Department of Disabilities?
Department of Disability? Okay. Oh, yeah, it's been 20 minutes.
Someone is bringing an updated sheet for you. On the document as it exists, it outlines two programs, AIDS Project Los Angeles and Asian Pacific AIDS Intervention Team, that are throughout all 15 council districts. The omissions were under Tarzana Treatment Center, which has a...
Okay, can you repeat those again?
AIDS Project Los Angeles?
Do you have the sheet before you?
I don't.
If somebody could hand him the sheet.
There's AIDS Healthcare Foundation, is that what you're talking about?
It's the third.
Oh, AIDS Project,
Item,
okay, 1 through 15, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, okay.
1 through 15.
That's Native American men who have sex with men, okay.
Correct. And Special Services for Groups, Asian Pacific AIDS Intervention Team.
Where's that?
Council Districts 1 through 15, the third up on the back, the fourth up on the back, sorry. In addition...
Wait, hold on, I haven't found it.
It's the fourth. Here.
The fourth one? Oh, okay. On the other side. Oh, okay, got it. The sixth.
In addition to Tarzana Treatment Centers, which is the second one up on the back, they have a site within Council District 7. And part of the program that Valley Community Clinic conducts is to train these men to talk to other men in the community and spread the word about HIV prevention.
Okay, so
and that is inclusive of Latino men and African American men.
So, is that in CD7?
Correct. It part of the program encompasses CD7, yes.
Okay, should we add 7 to this?
Yes, the document is being updated and brought as we speak.
I specifically asked about the African American community.
For Lakota?
Citywide or in CD7?
Well, I noticed that there are several African American oriented programs. I'm sorry, there's one. It has to do with the African American men who have sex with men, and there's no provision for CD7, and I have a significant African American population.
Okay. What I can tell you is that within the other programs, we do see African American men. I can point those out for you right now if you like.
Sure.
The mobile testing for HIV, for AIDS Health Foundation on the front.
On the front. So we should add CD7 on there?
We can add CD7. The only thing about that one is that the mobile site.
You're doing a little doublespeak here.
No.
And I'm going to catch you every time, man. I'm talking about African Americans in CD7.
African Americans in
He's
CD7.
not talking African Americans citywide. He wants
Okay.
you to answer his question versus when it comes to African Americans in CD7.
African Americans in CD7 are seen through the Valley Community Clinic program and the Tarzana Treatment Center program. We don't specify ethnicity within those programs.
But you don't exclude by ethnicity.
We don't exclude anyone.
Come one, come all.
Correct.
But the mobile HIV testing isn't available to CD7?
The mobile site is not placed at that location, in any location within CD7.
Why is that?
when they applied for funding through the RFP, they identified specific sites with the highest impact that they saw their program would have.
Mhm. Okay, so, so then, it would be appropriate to, you said Tarzana Treatment Center has a location in CD7?
Correct.
So I should add 7 to that?
Correct.
Okay, then I would move we amend attachment R to include CD7 on the Tarzana Treatment Center line item and the Valley Community Clinic line item. Oh, and then the other question I had, can I get a second on that? The other question I had is, with redistricting impending, the boundaries for these service areas will move with the changes in the redistricting?
We will ensure that the areas that are being covered now are covered when the new maps come out.
I know that, I didn't say areas, I said districts.
Correct.
So if it says a district, when the boundaries are changed, the areas here will change to the new boundaries?
Yes.
Okay. Now, wouldn't the CDBG eligible areas change?
The way that we allocate the funding for these programs are low income, people with AIDS, or homeless.
Right, so it should be guided by the poverty statistics, not by the council district numbers.
Correct.
So you're saying the services are going to be moving to where the new districts are, but how do we know that those new districts are going to have the same statistics?
We're going to have to make sure that...
Are you asking for a report back once we have those lines, Richard?
Sure. Well, I think CDD and, the question wasn't directly directed at you. It was actually directed at CDD. But we need to ensure that the new district boundaries don't change the poverty statistics for the purposes of allocating funds for these programs.
Is there a representative of CDD that can answer that?
So basically, Richard, what we need from CDD is for them to report to the council when the lines have changed, that the reports and/or the...
Do an analysis of the potential impact.
So that, for example, when it comes to tables of council districts served or where those sites are, the lines may have changed to the point where that information is not accurate, correct?
Well, the concern I would have is that lines may change in some areas that exclude areas that are now eligible, but won't be receiving the services that we're voting for them to get right now. And that, I think, could be a problem for those, well, certainly for those areas that lose the services, that would be a problem. I know that there's a couple of areas that I have that are high poverty areas that are not in the proposed redistricting plan. So if my area was going to get services, they would be excluded from those areas. And right now, we're voting to include them, and then if we redistrict it and the money stays with the services stay with the new district, then those areas would be excluded from those services. Now, I'm assuming that the same thing is happening citywide. Maybe not, but I think we need to make sure that those areas maintain services.
So 2 points on that to help me understand what clarifications we're asking for. So definitely there's a hard change when you have a facility, say that's on Van Nuys Boulevard, and that part of Van Nuys Boulevard goes from CD6 to CD7 or vice versa. Then that geographic facility is now physically in a different district. However, I'm assuming regardless of what the city decides a district looks like, the service rendered to those precincts or those communities will still continue regardless of what the city council finalizes on the final lines of districts, correct?
Yes, sir.
But to Mr. Alarcon's question?
Yeah, the bottom line is, I was told that the services were going to move with the council districts. The services should stay where the poverty is.
Yeah, and as you know, over the last couple of years, I'm sorry, Robert Stein, Assistant General Manager, and sorry, I was outside. Yes, as you know, over the last couple of years, we've been very, very targeted in terms of allocation of our services to where low-income and moderate-income folks live. So the money and the resources and the services will stay with those communities, regardless of the redistricting.
Yeah, so one of the purposes here, if I could expand on this, is to ensure that whoever has the new areas of poverty is informed about the services that we're rendering in their new district.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you know, we make all the rounds to all the council offices to know of all the services, and unfortunately, the greater need that we have in each of these communities than we have of resources.
And Richard, I think they just distributed the updated 20-minute version of attachment R, and consistent with the verbal presentation that was made. Thank you. Okay, so we now have that as part of the record. We have an amended version of attachment R that's before us. At this time, I'd like to go back to the other items on the agenda. We did not have a quorum. We did announce that item number 6 will be put over till March 21st, correct, of this committee. And then we actually took up items 1 and 3 together, and the recommendation was to note and file the CDD report. And so with that, that'd be action of the committee. Okay. And then we took up item number 2, and the recommendation was to file the HACLA report. Unless there's any objections, that'll be the action of the committee. And then on item number 4, we move to note and file the CDD report. Unless there's any objections, that'll be the action of the committee on item number 4. And item number 5 was to approve the CAO's recommendations. Without objection, then that'll be the action of the committee. And then item number 7, the recommendation was to approve the LA Housing Department's request, and then that the CAO provide its report to meet up with this NOFA at the council on March 20th, as it will appear on the council agenda on March 20th. And the reason for that specific date is we do have a deadline for this NOFA process. And so unless there's any objections from the committee, that is the actions of the committee on item number 7. Anything else we may have missed? And go back to item number 8. Okay, item number 8 is before us. We satisfied public comment on item number 8. We had everyone who filled out a card speak. We had questions from the committee. I'd also like to make a statement as chairman of the committee. I want to remind everybody that this is a very, very tough con plan. Once again, the federal government gave us drastic cuts to our entitlement and housing dollars. In addition to that, our program income saw a dramatic drop from last year, once again, and overall made tougher choices for us to make. And I appreciate Councilmember Reyes providing some dialogue in Spanish of how tough it's been for us. And these are federal dollars that come down to us, and unfortunately in lesser amounts. I'd also like to thank the mayor and his staff for proposing a fair and good budget. And also, subsequent to that, I've been working with many city staff, including the mayor's staff and my staff, on making sure that we try to make as many improvements as we could. And we did make some improvements that I'd like to remind you and outline about. We kept the summer night lights whole, and most importantly, as the rest of the city council understands, this is a program that has provided much fruitful safety in our communities, and it's important for our cities and to make sure that the gang violence and violence in general is reduced. And in addition to that, we found additional savings to keep the AIDS prevention services and aging services and disability issues at levels that we were funded from last year. In addition to that, we found a way to assist Homeboy Industries in their growth, as was outlined earlier. They serve the entire city and beyond. And we also found savings in order to bring additional money to our economic development projects. Jobs are the only way we're going to go dig ourselves out of this economic hole, and hopefully we will be able to give as much assistance to that with the comp plan as much as possible. I hope we're delivering a strong message to the federal government that these are programs that, even though some people think entitlement programs are a bad word, these are programs that are helping very difficult times and difficult situations for individuals, for families, and whole communities throughout the country. And I just once again want to thank the staff for working very hard on this very, very painful and difficult process of dealing with less money and more need. At this time, I'd like to introduce a motion that's been distributed and that has to do with the moving an additional amendment to the CLA-CAO report. And it's the amendment that has 3 items on that, and it outlines some of the changes in the con plan. This amendment does keep the con plan still in balance. So with that, we'll take up that motion first, as it was the last one made in committee. And then before we take up the next 2 motions by Ms. Perry, we will go ahead and explain that there are 2 motions and then reiterate those motions.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, we'll take up the last motion made. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. So with that, if we can outline the 2 motions
Great.
by Ms. Perry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have 2 items here. The first one is a motion reprogramming $300,000 from CALKO Calco Steel to 6800 South Avalon. Excuse me. And I can receive the second on that from Mr. Reyes. Calco Steel was a project in Council District 9 that received $300,000 in Cdbg funds last year. The funds were reprogrammed to a project elsewhere in the city, and I wanted to make sure these funds stayed in Council District 9 and are allocated to 6800 South Avalon. The South Avalon project is now ready to move forward and cannot proceed without these funds.
Okay. So that's one motion.
Yes, that's one motion. The second motion is that when the CLA and the CAO report back to us with mid-year reprogramming, or sooner if possible, that the following projects be identified as priority projects to receive the funds from the revenue derived from the Cal Plaza leases. They include Estelle Van Meter Center, 6800 South Avalon, and a dedicated source of funds for the city's new economic development entity.
Okay, thank you. So we will go with the first outline motion first, and when that motion was made earlier, I had the CLA clarify is if that motion were approved, whether or not it would put the con plan out of balance. Once again, this con plan will be taken up by the full council in just after 10 o'clock this morning on today's council meeting. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm opposed. Okay, so opposed? Reyes opposed? Okay, and support. So 2 support, 2 opposed, so that motion does not carry. The second motion is the prioritize the funds as outlined by Ms. Perry in the reprogramming later on this year in the mid-year program. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so with that, that concludes the
pardon me, Mr.
agendized items on today's agenda. I do not see any general public comment cards before me. Is there anybody here for general public comment? That is issues that are not before us on today's agenda that pertain to this committee.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, for the motion, the last motion, should we go ahead and read that into the record?
Yes, read that in the record, yes.
Okay. The last motion for the item number 8 is a motion that the joint CLA-CAO report dated March 6, 2012, relative to the 2012-2013 38th Program Year Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan be adopted with the following community development block grant budget amendments. Number 1, reduce the Port Tech Business Incubator by $250,000 and allocate these funds as follows: $200,000 to the Salvadorian American Leadership and Educational Fund to assist in acquisition of a building subject to eligibility, and restore $50,000 to the 1736 Family Crisis Center. Amendment number 2, reduce the Family Source Center City Managed Program, line item number 19, by $55,000 and the Hire LA 16-24 Youth Employment Program, line item number 22, by $20,000, and restore funding to the Construction Training and Placement Initiative, line item number 16, in the amount of $50,000, and add funding in the amount of $25,000 for Youth Speak. Amendment number 3, instruct CDD with the assistance of the CLA and CAO to make the necessary technical changes to the Community Development Block Grant budget to reflect these changes.
Thank you. Those have been read into the record, and those are the actions of the committee. So with that, we do not see any general public comment cards before me. Therefore, there's no one here for general public comment. General public comment is now open and is now closed. This committee is now adjourned.